Are you ready to feel inspired by hearing other people's stories of how they got from point A to point B? What helped them? What challenged them? What did they learn? What might they know that you haven't yet explored? No matter where you are today on your life journey, there is always hope, and you will always be amazing. My name is Kim O'Neill, and this show will inspire you to keep going. You and your life are worth it.
You're listening to the Everyday is a New Day show. Inspirational conversations with movers and shakers about moving forward and choosing to embrace a positive outlook. Because that which breaks us becomes a catalyst for what makes us. Now, here's your host, Kim O'Neill.
I've got my awesome guest, Zak Lioutas, with us. Zak is freaking awesome. I met her in person, and it's really cool that we're getting to do this a year later. And let us know where you're watching from so we can connect with you and, really make this be an experience for all of us. So, okay, I'm going to share just a nutshell of your bio.
Perfect. I just had to share.
Okay, and then okay, so I'm noticing if we talk at the same time, I can't hear you. What'd you say? Okay, so I know this is how it is today, and I have such a great camera. Like, honestly, I'm totally seeing my wrinkles. Okay, so Zak Lioutas. Zak, oh my goodness, tell me, am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Lioutas. You're good. You're close.
Oh.
It's all good.
Okay, well, Lioutas. Zak Lioutas teaches men and women how to live an empowered life as they tap into their higher consciousness, creating infinite possibilities and while staying authentic to who they truly are. She has helped many people through depression to enlightenment and from confusion to clarity by teaching spiritual principles and universal laws. In the midst of your suffering is where the best lessons come from. And today, Zak realizes she has been on a spiritual journey all her life, uncovering many parts of herself, and considers herself a spiritual hustler at heart.
Woohoo!
Welcome, Zak.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this conversation since I booked the call. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to hang out with Kim and do this podcast. And then it's been one of those things. I said to my astrologer today, I said, I feel like I'm still in retrograde, but retrograde wasn't even this bad because my electronics aren't working. Instagram won't let me post certain things. Everything that I posted has been in disarray. People are texting me and they're like, Zak, I don't know what happened, but everything looks like it's like a different language on. I'm like, what are you talking about? I go look at things and it's like all distorted. I'm like, okay. So you just got to take the punches and just allow for whatever is going to come to you. And you know what? Before I used to get pissed off. Like I'd be like dropping F-bombs until, no tomorrow. But now I'm like, whatever. It's all good. It'll happen when it happens. Like you can't stress over things you have no control of, right?
Exactly. Yes. You know what? Okay, so you've been making a lot of adjustments to your branding, and you've got these awesome, gorgeous photos and all this stuff happening for you. And the way I am interpreting this right now is you've got the magic and the energy flowing right now, and it's just kind of zigzagging everywhere.
It's so funny that you say that because I've been meaning to do this whole branding since last year. Like, I'm like, I'm going to brand, I just hit 6 figures. I'm going to do this. And something inside of me said, you ain't doing anything, girl. You're going to go travel. You're not going to worry about branding. You're not going to worry about all this business stuff. You're just going to focus on you, who you are. Like literally, I really for the last year went deep into like my spiritual path by getting to know what my spiritual DNA was, what my gifts were, what my past life was, clearing karmic past, recognize, like I'm getting goosebumps talking about this because I've had so many questions like to the universe as why is it that I attract these types of people? What is it from my past that I'm attracting in my present moment? And so for one solid year, all I did was travel. I didn't look at business. It didn't matter to business, nothing. And then when I got back from like literally it was like September. I was like, oh, what am I going to teach now? Like I could teach how to make money. I could teach how to tap into your higher consciousness. I could teach how to reach to your spirit guides. I could teach all these things. Now, what is that I want to teach? Because they all turn me on. Everything turns me on when it comes to spirituality. And it was the hardest moment. And spirit gave me 6 months to literally step back and just say, what is that you want to teach? And I was just like, I don't know. It's always, I teach everyone everything. Because even if we're tapping into money, I'm still clearing blocks, karmic past, childhood imprints, all that stuff. So, or even if I'm talking about tapping into your higher consciousness, I'm still clearing blocks, childhood memories. It didn't matter what I was teaching, as long as I was teaching something that started to raise vibrational consciousness, the vibration of humanity. It didn't matter what I was teaching. So it's so funny because I wrote a whole program on how to make 6 figures in 30 days. I literally wrote it in like a week. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. But I really want to tap into the depressed ones because they're the ones that I want to pull out of the mud. They're the ones I want to teach these techniques and all this other stuff. So it was rather interesting. Like the last 6 months of my life was just like, am I coming? Am I going? What's going on here? Like, you know, so it's an interesting journey.
Okay, so Zak, one of the things that I love about this show is that we talk about, you know, it's about moving forward, you know, and I really believe that from our challenges, from our adversity, right, those things that we go through, and maybe it was expected, maybe it was unexpected, but those things that we go through that are challenging provide us so much growth and lessons and learning and the opportunity to step into a new perspective. And there are many ways to phrase that. I think of it just, you know, as a positive perspective, right? That's what growth is. It's something gained versus not growing. So I would love for you to share with us. Will you share with us? I mean, have you always been a hustler, babe?
You know what? I always have been a hustler, but like a spiritual hustler, but I've been hiding. Like I'm a closet spiritual hustler. Like I was for years. I've been able to tap into spirit since I was 3 years old. I've been able to read certain things. I tell people when they're pregnant, they don't even know that they're pregnant. I tell people about job opportunities. They're like, I've never applied for anything. I'm like, oh, it's okay. You don't need to apply. Your bosses are going to come to you. Like I've always had this instinctual intuition of recognizing a lot of things. Like sometimes my friends will be dating a guy. I'm like, why are you dating that guy for? They're like, you don't even know him. I'm like, I don't know him. Let me tell you, girl. Let me tell you. And I literally rhyme off everything of who this person is. And they're just like, but you've never met him. I said, you don't need to meet people. Hi, Kathy. All you really need to do is pay attention to the energy, right? So when you pay attention to the energy is speaking to you. So yeah, when we clear the past debris, it's all really debris. It's all mental debris, emotional debris, spiritual debris, parental debris, school debris, society debris, media debris. That's all the debris that we hold on to that really holds us down. And the more that we try to please the Joneses out there rather than please our own self, the more we get, I'm getting goosebumps saying this, the more we get stuck in a deeper hole of the debris.
That makes so much sense. If you're watching and that resonates with you, go ahead and feel free to let us know. Safe space. I love what you just said about, you know, the example of talking to a friend and saying, why are you dating that guy? A quick little story here. About 7 years ago or so, I finally decided to date a guy who had been pursuing me for about 2 years. And I just let go of all the reasons why I was saying no for 2 years. Finally said yes. And 3 months later, when the relationship crashed and burned, and it was like this, like, disaster, my best friend, she said, I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed to tell you this, but I knew from the beginning you weren't supposed to be dating him. And it was a lesson for both of us because I was ignoring what I knew. And she had also not, I think part of the lesson for her is she wasn't valuing the information and insight she was getting enough to share it with me. So I didn't fault her for that. It's like, no, I'm not going to make you responsible for my decision to go out with him. But it was such an interesting experience to know that she could so clearly see that, no, this was such a wrong decision, or you know, just something, I don't even want to call it wrong, right? I learned a lot from that. But, whoa, she could see that, oh, there's going to be some turmoil in that.
Yeah. And you know what the beautiful part is? Sometimes we don't listen to the sign that comes in, the message that comes in, because we still have to go down a path that we have to learn something on that path. So you had to go down that path, because think of it, 2 years you said, right? 2 years you were like, get away, get away, get away. And all of a sudden you went down that path and getting goosebumps. You had to learn something deeper about yourself going down that path.
Yep. I love that. I love that. Okay. And that was, I will also just say that that was when I decided to say yes to that. I was in a lower space, lower vibrational space than I had been. I mean, not to say that you're like consistent vibrational space,
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years, I was up here. No, no, no. But I was noticeably in a low space when I decided to say, okay, let's see,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like just against my better judgment, what I knew was right for me. But I totally agree with what you said too. Like it absolutely helped catapult me in a direction that was very meaningful for me, and it was time. So it was good.
Yeah, and you know what? Once you learn that lesson and let it all go, magic literally transpires and follows you right after that, regardless if it was a relationship with a guy. But at the end of the day, like your business could excel, the trajectory of your life could excel. All of a sudden, all these offers come in. Like there's so many different things, but you had to go down that path to learn
Right.
and to start activating certain things. So there's I love energy because it's so mysterious yet so dynamic and so awakening. But they give us messages all the time. And I said this the other day, I don't remember where I said it because I've been talking to so many people lately. I always say spirit always tells us, it's us that don't listen.
Okay, so I want to first ask you, is there a time in your life when maybe you weren't quite listening, and what did you learn?
All
Okay, I'm
the
glad you laughed.
time. All the time. You know what? It's so
Well,
funny that you say that because there's still days like today, like not today, but just in general. Like now I'll be like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, no, 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 but you have to do it. I'm not going to listen to that. I don't want to do that. But then I sit back sometimes and I get so pissed off. Like, why did I listen? Why did I listen? Right. And I'm going to give you an example. The other day I was supposed to go to an event and I was getting all ready. I was like, oh, fixing my hair. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go out tonight. Because I rarely go out. I'm such a homebody. I'm an introvert. To get me out takes a lot. Like, a lot to get me out. And my friends all know this and everything. And I was so excited to go to this event the other day. And as I'm like literally doing my hair, I hear, go for a walk. And I was like, eh? A walk? Like, I'm about to get ready to go to an event. You want me to go for a walk? And I heard, yeah. And I was like, I was pissed. But then I'm like, you know what? Let me just go for a walk because I don't know. Like, I just don't know. I just feel like I need to listen to this. So I ended up going for a walk. Okay. And as I'm walking, I get these massive downloads coming through to me. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is cool. This is cool. This is cool. And then I'm like, and I go to this event and I heard no. And I'm like, really? Why? And so I get home and I'm doing work and now I'm pissed off, right? Because I really wanted to go to events and wanted to network and meet women and men. And I heard, you'll never find out why we told you to go to that event. Because first and foremost, how about if you got into a bad car accident? And you're not accepting the fact, I'm getting goosebumps saying this, and you're not accepting the fact that we don't want you to go. And I was like, all right, it's out of my hands. I didn't go. There's going to be another event. But it's those times that we don't listen that something happens. And it was so weird because the call to go for a walk was so strong. Like it came in as someone was like in my ear, go for a walk. And I was like, really? And that's what it came down to. It's these moments that, you know, we have this FOMO or feel like we have to go out there and be out there and do all this stuff. And when we miss that call to not do it, or we ignore the call to not do it and something happens, what's one thing that everyone says? I should have listened to my gut.
And so the key is really learning, what does your gut feel like, for each individual person, right?
Yeah.
So what was that like for you, for understanding that? I mean, it sounds like you've always felt that you've had this connection or contact or however you experienced it. But at what point did you realize, oh, this is really something? Or did you ever?
It's been a
tell me more about how you.
So for me, my parents shunned me out from expressing this part of my gift. Like it was one of those things, don't tell people. Okay. People aren't thinking you're crazy. I told my doctor when I was going through cancer and then my endocrinologist, I said something to him and I thought he was going to put me in the psychiatric ward. And I heard my spirit guides tell me that day in the doctor's office, leave now. And I was like, what? And I heard leave now. So I left. So there was like, I mean, that was in the 90s. Now it's become more prominent. People are talking about spirits. People are talking about spirituality. It's more open. But I've had this all my life, but I literally have held it in all my life. So I knew when they were going to fire me from a job, like there was a restaurant that sold that I worked at, and everyone's like, oh no, well, we're just fixing the restaurant. And I told all the other staff, I'm like, look for a job. They're firing us. Something's happening. And no one looked for a job. I ended up having a job the next day because I was looking, I was proactive, right? I listened. So I've always had that. Do I always listen? No. Should I always listen? Yes. Right? Why? Because that I told you so that we tell ourselves, or I should have listened to myself, becomes obsolete at that point. But it's a matter of recognizing how these messages are coming to you. Is it through thought? Is it through feeling? Is it through emotion? Is it through body like paralysis? Like there's so many different ways. And the beautiful part is I get all those ways that come to me. So I'll have like a body like twitch. I'll be like, okay, someone's here. Or the best one my spirit guys do is they tickle my underarm. It drives me crazy because I'll be like, and like I'm laughing, but there's no one tickling me. And I've done this in public and people are like, why is this girl like doing this and laughing? Because spirits are literally like tickling me. And it's so ticklish. I've never had this ticklish feeling, but when they do it, even my niece looks at me and goes, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, it's just like spirits are tickling me right now and it drives me crazy. But that's the saying, hey, we're here. Hello. We're trying to say something to you. Why are you ignoring us? And then they tickle me. And then I'll close my eyes and be like, okay, let's just connect. Right. So the communication comes in so many different forms. And this is the part that I love teaching my clients because I could see how it comes in. I could see their different pathways. I could see their past, present, future. I could see what blocks they have. I could unlock doors. So there's so many different things through my spiritual gifts that I learned in the last year of literally traveling, of everything I could do and everything that I've done to help people get to know who they are on that deeper level. So it's beautiful.
So let's just take the tickling. Okay. So the first time it happened, were you like, oh, I know exactly what this means? Or were you just like, what the heck is this?
Do you know what happened when I was like literally a teenager, like 30 years ago? And when it first happened,
that's gotta be embarrassing.
Like, why is something tickling me? Like, I remember this. I was like, why is something tickling? Like, what the hell is it? There's no one there. And I heard, it's us. And I went, okay. See, but I was used to talking to spirits all my life. So to me, it wasn't like, that's weird. The only weird part is that I came out of the spiritual closet. And now I just freely talk about it because I went through my own judgments of people are going to think I'm crazy. People think I'm psychiatric, or people are thinking, I don't care what people think. Right? I just don't care.
Okay. Tell us more. Thank you for saying that. Will you tell us more about that? About realizing, oh crap, I don't want to share with people, maybe the discomfort of that. And then finally getting to the place where I don't care anymore. Like, what was that journey like?
Oh, that was a serious journey, like I believe it was 2 years ago. I just came out, it was like a couple of years ago. I don't remember how long, but I just came out of depression and I said to Spirit, I'm going to listen to everything you tell me. I'm not going to skip a beat now. I'm going to do everything. And they're like, okay. And I was just like, cause I talk to spirit guys, like I talk to God or like Jesus or angels or whatever you want to call. I talk to them like my homeboys. Like I'd be like, yo, and I swear, I'd be like, yo, fuck, this is like crazy. Like, what the hell is this shit going on? Like, I literally talk like that. Like, I'm not one of those to be like sitting on a pillow and kumbayaing. Like, I talk to my guys like they're human beings. And it's so interesting because I said, okay, I'm going to listen to everything you guys are telling me. And they said, okay. And I was having like a little kind of a disruption with Mama Bear, right? And I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, driving myself crazy. And I said to spirits, like, can you help me on this matter? Like this needs to change. And they said to me, go live on Facebook. And I went, huh? You want me to go live on Facebook to air my dirty laundry, to tell people that I have an issue with my mama and all this other stuff? And I said, I walked around my desk for a good hour, probably. I was yelling and like totally like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you want me to? And I was just like, I could feel spirit just sitting so powerful in their words going, yeah, we want you to do that. And they wouldn't take no for an answer. And I just finished promising them that I'm going to list everything. So I put everything on Facebook, and I started off by saying, it doesn't matter what you say to me. I've already told myself I was fat. I already talked to myself about wrinkles. I already said this to myself about this. So what you tell me won't affect me because I've already beaten myself up.
Totally get that. Yep.
Right. And then that started happening, and I just started becoming more free on there. Like I did lives 3 times a week, all this stuff. And then, like, you know, I still had that self-judgment at that time. I was just like, you know, I don't know if I'm good. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. All this stuff came to me. And it was on that year that I took off to get to know who I am on the my spiritual DNA, where I turned to myself and I said, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care anymore. If you want to place judgment on me, go ahead, because you don't have a clue who I am. You don't have a clue what I've gone through. I don't tell anyone. If you want to sit there and compare your life with my life, girlfriend, boyfriend, guess what? That's your own damn issue, because you have no clue what I went through. And if you want to compare my life, man, you've been in depression all your life, and just like I have. So that's your issue. If you want to talk nasty about me, if you want to belittle me, guess what? I don't care, because it has nothing to do with me. And if I were to do that, say, for example, to you, Kim, to be like, Kim, oh God, like, who does she think she is? Like, but if I were to do that, then I look at myself and go, why is Kim triggering me for me to say stuff like that? Right?
Yes!
So then I'll look at the trigger and I'll be like, oh, that's not Kim's problem, girl. This is your damn problem you got to fix. Right? So that's what it came down to. And that's when I start not caring what people say, because I was like, you know what, they're just looking at me as they're looking in the mirror, regardless if they went through the process of this, if they're going through the process of this, or they still haven't awakened to the process of this, whatever it may be. So then, you know what, and even now, like, I'll say shit, like, I'll be like, what does that chick think she is, some damn ass diva? Right? And I talk like that all the time myself, and I'll be like, damn right, she's a diva, girl, like, you're a diva too. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And that's what it is. When you have fun with life and know that whatever someone thinks or feels about you, as long as you know your truth, your true essence, and you know that you are not that malicious little SOB that talks behind people's backs, that's going to judge, it's going to do all that stuff, then guess what? You're in the clear. But if you're that malicious person that puts a cloak on and acts like Mother Teresa when she's around everyone, and then behind the scenes you're talking about people, then let me tell you, go F yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're a problem that needs to really look within yourself. So that's what it really came down to at the end of the day. Like, at the end of the day, it didn't matter what anyone said. It just mattered how I felt and what I said.
I love that you share that. And I think this is a fantastic time to tell people the name of your podcast. Would you like to share that?
It's called Unfuck Your Mind.
So now this episode is going to be labeled explicit on iTunes, but I wanted you to share that for a reason. So why did you choose to call your podcast that?
You know what the funny thing was? Oh my God, this was like the most funniest moment. I'm just gonna move this computer out of here. The funniest moment of me naming my podcast that was, here I was in California. I'm in San Diego. I'm just cruising along the beaches. And we just finished doing, where I met you, we just finished doing that seminar. And I was like, man, Spirits, you guys have been talking to me about starting a podcast for years. And, you know, now I feel more, you know, kind of prepped up. I met people, we spoke in, we did this and that. And I said, you know, I think I'm ready to start a podcast. And I heard, yeah, you know, we heard this one before. And I was like, okay. So a day goes by, 2 days goes by, nothing happens. And then I think I was going through a process when I was in San Diego, because I mean, I was away for about 2 months at that time. And I just drove from San Francisco down to San Diego within like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, did it. And I was walking down the beach, and I think I was having a tearful moment. And I heard Spirit say to me, unfuck your mind. And I'm like, what? And I kept on hearing it over and over. And I was like, what are you saying? And it was so interesting, because at that point, I'm like, how much more screwed up can one human being be? Like, seriously, like, am I that screwed up? And I heard Spirit say, no, that's the name of your podcast. So then I named the podcast Unfuck Your Mind. And it just became that. It's a platform where people could be who they are. There's no judgments. There's no right or wrong. I mean, there's nothing on there. Like, we just literally have a conversation between you and I, just like how you and I are having a conversation. And that's how that all came about. And it's so funny because I said to Spirit, was that really my podcast name, or was I really going through that? They said both.
Okay.
So it was an interesting process. That name was something that I had to still learn from and process through, but it's also something that humanity has to learn and unprocess. So the slogan is unfuck 1% of your mind and watch your life get activated.
Nice. Okay, so can you share with us some tips? How can someone unfuck their minds?
Absolutely. And you know what that is? To unscrew yourself is really about recognizing your self-worth, by recognizing your confidence, by tapping into your divine essence, by connecting with your divine birthright, by being worthy of receiving your divine compensation, by letting go of all that outside noise. Like, you tap into yourself as you're unscrewing literally the light bulb to make it brighter. So there's so many different ways, but depending on where you are in your process, in your spiritual growth, and your awakening process, there could be that we have to clear childhood drama, or trauma, I should say. I see your drama, or trauma, wounds, imprints, beliefs. You know, I've connected with some people that went through sexual abuse, child molestation. I'm just like, okay, why am I going through this? I've never been through this. Why am I, here to help? And they said, because you could explain it, because it's just energy. That's all it really is. And when I talk about that, I've cried with clients that went through child molestation and sexual abuse, because it hurts to see that, someone that didn't have control, someone was robbing their power, against their will. So there's so many different ways, but it all really depends where you are on your process. And one thing that I tell people, the best way to really start unscrewing your mind is by bringing focus to your breath. Because a lot of people don't even breathe properly. People just breathe in their chest and don't breathe all the way down to their groin area. So you're breathing in your chest and you're forgetting the whole rest of your body, which a lot of stagnant energy gets stuck there. A lot of vibrational imprints, like even if it's verbal stuff, it all sits in somewhere in our body and it causes a stagnant energy. And that's why we have like a sore back or a sore leg, or we can't have sexual pleasures, or we can't have an orgasm, or we can't have a boner, or our sex sucks, because there's not enough vibrational energy down there to even clear you off. So usually I tell people right off the bat, focus on your breath, and that alone will change your life. Just focusing on your breath. And I literally learned that when I was a teenager, my first Kundalini class, because my instructor was just like, you don't breathe properly. I'm like, how does someone not breathe properly? And then he taught me this. I think it was in my late teens. And I'm like, wow, I don't breathe properly. This is like crazy. And then he taught me how to breathe, literally. And he gave me some good tools and techniques that I still use today. Like even today, I'll like sit there and be like, why am I breathing so shallow? Like what am I holding on to? What's in the way? What blocks do I have? Why isn't there enough flow going on here? And then I look at different parts of what's going on in my life. Oh, okay. And why is this pissing me off? Where am I holding that in my body? Because your body talks. Everything talks. Everything is energy, right? So we just start off with that. So just literally, I tell people right off the bat, focus on your breath. And when you focus on your breath, see where you breathe, see how your body feels, see where you can't breathe, see where you're holding on to stagnant energy. And then we go through a whole visualization of, break down that stagnant energy, like dissolve it all, make it into small particles, like into little salt particles, throw that away. Like when you're breaking it away, give it away, put it in the soil again, let it go away from you. So there's so many different techniques, right? And this is what I love, because I'm channeling spirit, higher energies, elders. So spirit gave me the name, an intergalactic elder and a master key holder. So I tap into a lot of elders that help through the healing process, and we do activations and stuff like that. So sometimes it really depends where you are. And then as we're having breath, you just pull out the energy. So it makes it like literally gets the process to move much quicker for yourself. But then you're going to go through like a healing crisis. And I tell people, you might be going through something for the next 4 or 5 days, but don't worry about it as part of the healing process. Just write things down. So everyone, we're unique, but yet the same.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So as you're learning to breathe, you're opening up space and making it easier to shift that energy. Is that,
yes.
Would you say that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because when you're breathing and you're moving that energy, that stagnant energy, right? What you're doing is saying, okay, now I have this vacant space that, you know, something from childhood has been taken up that really my conscious mind didn't even know that it was taking that space up. Because a lot of the times we have no idea we're going through things.
Right. No, I love that you brought up the breath thing. It was like 3 years ago or so. I had a friend say to me, she's like, Kim, you don't breathe. And I'm like, I don't. Kind of like the reaction you just had. You know, I was like, it was just new information to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's kind of right. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I learned to love my breath. And I just started to, you know, on my own, like when I wake up in the morning, take slow, deep breaths. And it's become like one of my favorite things to do ever is just breathe.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's good because you're opening yourself up. You're dissolving any stagnant energy. You are literally creating space. You're getting wisdom and awareness of what you were holding on to. You know, because even if you're breathing and you start crying, people are like, well, why am I crying? Well, because you're holding on to that suffering for so long that now just through your breath, that's coming up and it wants to be released. Like that's where it is. That's where it is on the forefront. It's so close to being released, but because people are so used to living the same life over and over, it's like they want change, but they have the same routine over and over, right? You get used to that. So you don't know what feel good feels like because you know what suffering feels like more than anything. And when you do one thing that feels good, it's like, you know, it's so funny because I used to say this to myself, like, how long is this going to last for? So you question how long feel good's going to last for, but you don't question how bad it's going to last for.
So I would like to first, I love that we're moving into this direction. So I would love to first say, if there's anybody listening or watching this live or on the replay, and you're going, well, wait a second, I know I've been doing this, don't shift into a space of shame about it, because I think we all do it. And even sometimes if we know better, we can like have those moments where it's like, oh, it's time to up level, or it's time to grow again. And now you don't realize what you've made your norm isn't actually healthy for you. And it's time to shift. And so what would you say to someone who is in that space where they're like, where just like what you just said, you know, like they don't even know what something better feels like, so they don't know how to get there. They don't know how to shift out of what it has become their norm.
Yeah, and this is what I had to do when I pulled out of depression. I was in depression like most of my life, and it's so interesting because I pulled out within 21 days, 30 days. I started creating programs on how to get out of depression. I didn't even know what I was doing until my sister sent me an article, and she says, "Do this," and I read it, and I'm like, sounds very familiar. And it's so funny because Spirit said to me at that point, yeah, because you've been doing it. But I didn't know what I was doing. Okay. Right? All I knew what I wanted at that point after depression was that I wanted to feel good. So define what feel good feels like to you. Define what feel good looks like to you. Define what feel good is in the surroundings that you want to be in, because usually we're not in the surroundings we want to be in if we're not feeling good. So I say this because I've worked with a lot of women to help them through depression, especially men as well. When I work with them and they go like, I hate my spouse. And I'm like, oh, why do you? That's a strong word. Just don't use the word hate, because I personally don't like that word hate because it's so strong. It's so like, it's awful. And I say, okay, so what's your feel good? I feel good when he or she goes to work. Okay, so how long you been feeling like this? And if it takes about 15 years for people to get divorced, and I know this because at the end of the day, I've worked with many women and men, and I'm like, oh, I get that 15-year mark yet? And they go, yeah, I am. And I'm like, okay, so divorce is going to happen. And they're like, oh no, we're ready. I'm ready to sign papers now. So it's interesting because it took them 15 years to really accept the principle of feel good, and maybe their spouse isn't supposed to be in that picture. But, you know, as every married couple does, and no, I don't have kids, but I've nannied 20 kids, so I'm, a good thing. But they say I'm staying in the marriage for the kids. And this is one thing that I say to a lot of people is that you're teaching your kids bad principles of how they should be treated. So that's not a feel good. So when you recognize all the feel goods that you want in your life, and you don't need money to feel good. When you feel good, you attract money. People say, oh, I could only be happy if I make money. Well, you're not going to make money because you're not happy. And because you're in that place of lack of thinking that I have to feel good to make money, and you're in that place of lack, and then what happens is that you're just like, I'm not even making money. So I'm leaving that feel good until X, Y, and Z happens. So the first thing that I would say is write down everything that makes you feel good. And then every day do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 and build it up, build it up, build it up. But as you're doing those feel goods, all the suffering's going to come up. The trauma, the past beliefs, the childhood imprints, the mind chatter, the self-mind chatter, what other people have put in you, the I'm not good, the guilty, the shame, all that stuff's going to show up. Why? Because now you're bringing a higher vibrational frequency into your awareness, and something needs to lift up to move in order for feel good to show up again.
And I think that the trap can be to think, oh no, I must be doing something wrong, or I'm never bound to get to that, more feel good place because all this yuckiness is coming up. But it's actually a good sign that it's coming up, because it's coming up to be released. It's not assume you're raising your vibration and that means nothing else is ever going to come up. Oh no, all that stuff is still there. All the stuff we ignored, all the stuff we just let be stagnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And I want to bring that up because this always happens to me. And I know it happens to a lot of people. I just did a podcast the other day, and I was saying to the guest the host on that podcast, because she was going through something, and I said, I'm going to tell you this. I said, you're up leveling in your business. And she says, yeah, I am. And I said, okay, so you up leveling in your business, an old pattern or belief is going to show up. And she just said, what? And I said, well, it's going to show up because you're up leveling now. So you need to create space for that new to show up. So when you're up leveling, regardless if it's in your relationships, in your money game, in your business, whatever it may be, what happened is that when we level up, it could be a disarray going on in the world, like in your humanness, right? Like even today, for example, I've been leveling up for so long with my business and stuff like that. And it took us a half an hour to get to where we are, because we're both going through an up level and something wants to stop us. And that stop is to say, you know what? Hey, Zach, how about we just do this another day and just leave it today? But you and I both said, no, we're going to get on this podcast. We're going to spread the word, and we're not going to give up. So now, guess what? That part that was there that wanted to hold us back into our old patterns, into our old beliefs, into the guilt, into the shame, into all that stuff, now has totally blasted off, and it's not there.
I so love that you brought that up. So it's bringing up the phrase that we've all heard, nothing changes if nothing changes. So here we've been given another opportunity for something that, I acknowledge to you, this has happened in the past sometimes, right? And you mentioned, some other things have been happening this week, tech issues. And this time we both chose, and maybe we've tried to do this before, but we both chose a different response to it. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, this is what it is. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to choose to respond to it differently. And lo and behold, we found a solution.
And then once you go through that, and there's a trajectory of you up leveling yourself at that point, then you could sit there, and as we're sitting in this space right now, I could guarantee you once you get off here, everything that happened prior to us getting on this call energetically will give us wisdom as to why it showed up. So is it a belief system that, you know what, this always happens to me? That was one line I used to, that always happens to me. Well, if you're saying all the time that always happens to me, what are you doing? You're inviting it always happening to you all the time, right? So this has happened to me millions of times when it comes to doing podcast or anything like that. I love podcasting. I think it's the greatest thing. I could sit here and have amazing conversations just like you and I are having right now. So I love podcasting. But there's times when I know I'm up leveling my podcasting game that the app will break, Zoom won't play properly. Like all these things happen. I'm just like, I got to walk away for a minute because I'm going to throw my computer and then I won't be able to get on here. And then I'll be even more pissed. So let me just walk away. Let me breathe. Let me just clear some space. right? Let me get rid of the anger that I can't get on here right now, because anger shows up. That's been a childhood thing with me, just anger, 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 anger.
Okay.
So let me clear all this and let me go back with a fresh perspective, a fresh energy frequency, and the knowingness that it's going to work. And 9 out of 10 times, it always ends up working. And it's almost like my spirit saying, how bad do you want it? It's like they dangle this little thing in front of me, like, how bad do you want it? You know? And once you're like, oh, I want it. Like, I want it. Nothing is going to stop me. I always say this. If you want something bad enough, nothing will ever stop you. So if it stops you, you don't want it bad enough.
I completely agree. I completely agree. And I also think it's flipping the script on it. So like earlier when you were talking about, you know, only money makes me happy, or I can only be happy if if I have money. Well then, wow, you're really limiting your opportunities for happiness, really limiting it. So to me, I've learned, like when I find myself falling into a space like that, where I'm like, okay, why isn't this working? Or basically looking at I'm just going to say negative, which is just the limiting perspective, whatever that may be. Whenever I'm looking at the limiting perspective, such as like, why isn't this working? Or, you know, why is this broken? Or versus, okay, interesting. How can this work? What can support me in you know, allowing this to work right now? Or what can make this more fun?
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, there's a whole level of ease and opening up to other possibilities and opportunities versus the one that I was like getting hooked into. So
yeah, totally.
Just want to share that.
Yeah, and you know what? I like that you said that, because what you're doing is you're redirecting your energy into something else rather than focusing on what's happening. So naturally, it's going to end up working.
I love that. Naturally. So naturally, it's going to end up working. Yes.
Right? That's like when people, I have some of my clients, and I'm like, you know, you just have to do like switch your room around, or switch your living room around. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, just move your furniture around. There's a lot of stagnant energy in your house. And then they'll switch their furniture around, because this is the signs I'll get. Like, tell them to move this table there, or move the couch there, and do that. It's like, my body knows feng shui for everyone else, but not myself sometimes. And I get them to move certain things sometimes, and they're like, Zak, my energy makes me so much happier in my house now. And girl, I just got more clients as soon as you told me to move that around. And I was like, yeah, because you had stagnant energy sitting in there. I'm going to tell you a funny story. So I got back from Panama 2 years ago, and this was hilarious. And when I was in Panama, I heard my spirit guide say, you need to clean the closet underneath your stairs. And I mean, the closet underneath my stairs was just my storage. It just had everything in there. And I came back from Panama, and I was just like, I got to clean this damn closet. Like, I promised myself I'm going to clean this closet. I cleaned that closet, and someone reached out to me, and I burst out laughing, because I didn't expect this person to reach out to me. And they're like, you know, saying all these things to me. And I just started laughing. I said, was this person stuck in my closet? But that's the energy. That's the space. That's where energy is going to find a home. It's just like cancer. I went through cancer, right? So energy found, like dark energy found a place in my throat. First and foremost, I was always like, I felt like I was never being heard. I felt like I always had to yell to get my point across. I felt like I couldn't stand in my own power and be who I truly was. Then I looked at my past life as a warrior. My throat's been chopped off so many times. I've been put to the stake. Like, I was burnt, like so many things in my past life. So when I got to learn all that, it was like, oh, this was all past life karma coming into here, which if I knew in my 20s that I was going through this and I knew how to heal from it, rather than my family or my mom, mostly my dad, anybody thinking that I was a crazy quacko talking to air, which was spirits, because we didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know how to explain it. Then I probably would have been able to heal myself naturally. And I probably wouldn't have even had my cancer surgery. And people might think that's crazy, but you could heal yourself from anything just through your thoughts. It's just a quantum field. It's the quantum matrix that you come into. And when you're in that quantum matrix, that flow, and you said earlier today in this podcast, you said, we can't always be in that high vibrational frequency, but you can.
Thank you. Okay, let me reword that. I think it's not the norm for us to always be up there, but I do believe it's possible.
Yeah.
So that's my, but tell us more.
Yeah, and this is what I want to talk about, because we could be in that frequency, right? We could awaken that frequency. First and foremost, how do we do it? Wake up in the morning, we have our nice deep breaths, we get into that place of meditation. You don't have to meditate in kumbaya on a pillow for an hour. 10 minutes is perfect. Focus on your breath, bring gratitude. That's how you stay in a higher vibrational frequency. As soon as you start bringing gratitude to your past things, things that you have in your present situation, the roof, the house, the lights, whatever it may be, and even bring gratitude to the things that you want to manifest. Because you're acknowledging that before it even shows up. So gratitude is key. Go on, you're going to say something.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, so maybe that's it, but how do you manifest? Is it by focusing on the gratitude for something, or what other tips do you have for how you manifest things?
I'm talking to spirit constantly. So what I'll do is I'll say, who am I to work with now? Like, who are the people that need me the most now? And from that point on, I'll get some stuff. But how I manifest is that I just put it to the universe. Hey, God, universe, Jesus, angels, Buddha, Krishna, whatever you want to call that higher power. I'm like, I want this now. And miracles happen, and miracles are going to happen today. Why? Because I am that I am. I am the creator. I am the abundant being of light. I am the manifester. I am that God presence. And people are going to be like, no, you're not a God presence. But let me tell you, look in the mirror, because you are a God presence. We are all a God presence. We're all the children of the universe. We are all interconnected in one way. There's no 7 degrees of separation. There's nothing like that. Because once we feel connected to someone's energy, it's almost like, have you ever had that time when you feel something, you're like, I feel like I've known you for so long, and you just met them? Well, it's because it's our old spirits coming up. It's like our past life coming into that present moment, and we naturally know people, right? So when you're going to that place of manifestation, it's a place of knowingness. I know that I could get this. It's almost like that place of, people might think it's cocky of getting it, but it's not. It's the knowingness that the universe always transpires to give you everything you want. Regardless if you're thinking negative or positive, you're going to get it because you're thinking it.
I always go by, I remember Abraham Hicks, talking about the different levels of knowing. So there's not believing or not knowing, then there's hope, then there's believing, and then there's know.
There is different levels of knowingness. There's that fear too. But when you work through the fear, that's why I like teaching people all the levels of energy that we have. I think that's more important, because at the end of the day, everything is an energy frequency, and everything is felt in our body, mind, and our spirit totally different. So if you know what fear feels like, you know what faith feels like. If you know what sadness feels like, you know what happiness feels like. But the only thing is that you might be in a place of sadness more than happiness, so you don't fully know the feeling of happiness, right? So when you're looking at manifesting and say, I'm going to use $1 million, because everybody wants money, or everybody wants, a partner or anything like that. But let's talk about money. When people want to manifest, you say, I want $1 million. Well, how does that sound to you? Is it scary? Is it fearful? Do you have doubt showing up? Is there guilt while you're asking for money from people to do the work that you're meant to do, living on purpose? Like, what are the thoughts that are coming up, and why are they coming up? So if thoughts are coming up, then you ask the thoughts, because it's energy. Why are you showing up? So then those start, everything one by one will say. But then there is another layer there, which is a domino effect of more things coming to the surface that you might not be able to work through them because you don't understand it. And that's why I always say, like, it's always good to get help, someone that understands the energies and how to utilize you around the energies, and how to take you on a detour through energies in order for you to activate parts of yourself that have never been activated. I know people that call me and they're like, I never even knew I could do that. I said, yeah, because you never trusted yourself, or you doubted yourself that you can't do it. You always told yourself, I can't do it. And I always go back, did your parents always tell you can't do things? Yes. Well, that's an imprint from childhood that now you're holding on to adulthood. But now that you saw that shift of you can do it happen, now you're going to continuously do it. So it's so interesting how it all works out. So when it comes to manifesting in that place of knowingness, so we'll talk about the $1 million. So $1 million shows up. How do you feel about it? Where's the fear sitting? Where's the doubt sitting? Where's the guilt sitting? Where is the mind chatter sitting? What is the mind chatter saying to you? So there's so many different pieces that you have to look at. Thank God I bypassed all that, and I could go right to the source now. It's like, oh, there it is. Okay, I got to pull that out, right? It's just, this is like 20, I mean, I've been doing this since I was a kid, but really more in the last 20 years, I was trying to figure things out and connect with it. So how does that feel? You go through all this stuff, and then, you know, does $1 million sound too much to me? Majority of people will say, yeah, it does sound too much. It's almost scary. And then you wonder, how am I going to make it? Where is it going to come from? And then when people say that to me, I kind of chuckle and I'd be like, the only way we lack money is when we lack creativity.
Ooh, say more about that.
The way we lack money is when we lack creativity, because people are throwing money out there at us to do something for them. And I'm saying this, there's so many different ways. And right now, because I'm activating my money game and activating other people's money games, like things are coming at me like, oh, you could do this and you could do that and you could do that. And I'm just like, whoa. And people are complaining there's no money in the world to be made. Are you kidding me? Like, look at this, right? And so when you're starting to activate all that stuff, money will just start flowing to you. Money will just start transpiring or showing up, or just like, you know, I remember when I was going through depression, I was going to Walmart to buy like, you know, my hygiene stuff. And I heard, and then there was like the guys outside for Remembrance Day selling poppies. And I remember going, okay. And I heard Spirit say to me, give them $10. And I was like, $10? Like, that's a lot of money for someone that lost everything. You know, I guess I'm putting the toothpaste away, or this away or that away. So I was just like, you want me to give $10? I'll give $10, like whatever. So I just let it go. It killed me, but I let it go. So here I was coming out of Walmart with my bag in my hands. And as I'm walking, I'm having this conversation with myself. And the guy goes, do you want your poppy? And I said to him, no, you could have it. I don't want a memory of giving my $10, right? And I just kind of let it go. And as I'm walking out, no word of a lie, Kim, here comes $20 just out of nowhere.
No.
Yes. Yes. I grabbed that $20. I literally got on my knees, bawled my eyes out, kissed the money that was literally dirty on the floor, kissed it, went up, said thank you, went back into Walmart and bought everything else that I needed.
Oh.
The universe is always watching over us. How much faith do you have? Not in the universe, but in yourself.
That is such a good manifesting story. If you're just now hearing part of that, you need to go rewind a little bit and listen to all of that.
Crazy, right?
Well, yeah, crazy. Well, and so the part I just want to tack on to what you were just saying is, right, believing in yourself, but also knowing that you're supported. It's not like you're supposed to come up with the ways of like, how am I going to get more money? It's a co-creation process, and the universe is going to
it's a co-creation process, but also a process of receiving. So if you're closed to receiving, especially a lot of women are close to receiving, like we're afraid to ask for help. We're, you know, if someone says, I want to buy dinner, it's like, no, sweetheart, I'll buy it. Now, you know what I say? Thank you. Oh, you want to buy me a coffee? Thank you. Oh, you want to buy dinner? Thank you. And if the other person thinks, shit, I didn't think she was going to say thank you. Well, I'm open to receiving. Like, straight up, I'm open to receiving. And that's what it is. Because as soon as we put that block and say, no, it's okay, I got it. Guess what you're doing? You're blocking yourself from receiving. So there's so many little things that we don't recognize what we do consciously or subconsciously that's holding us in that same situation over and over. So it's so easy to say, well, visualize the reality that you want to create for yourself and ignore what you're going through. When I hear that, it's almost like, no, you can't really ignore what you're going through. You got to deal with what you're going through, but activate a new reality to show up for you and work on that every day as you deal with everything that's going on in your life right now. So whatever you're going on in your life right now, regardless if it's family, friends, money, job, traveling, and wanting to run away, whatever it is, deal with that. You know, how you can do it, like create a good plan, but then look at the life that you want to create for yourself. So you're working on both levels, both areas of your life, right? It's not always easy to ignore, like, you know, when someone says, I know you're going to tell me to ignore this. It's like, no, I don't want you to ignore anything. Because when you're ignoring it, what you're doing, you're packing it down again into your little container of suffering, and it's going to show up again anyways. So deal with it and then move on from it.
Yes, I love it. Well, okay, so Zak, we are coming to the end of our show today. I would love for you to just share, if there's anybody out there who's interested in connecting with you after the show or how they can work with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
I just literally launched the program today, Six Figure Lifestyle. Attract six figures in 30 days, and I help you activate your money game. So if you go to zaklioutas.com, that program is right there now. So you just have to sign up for it, and you'll get a booklet. It's like a 29-page booklet. And then you get 2 meditations, videos, and everything like that. So they could connect me with my website. My website's being rebranded right now. They could reach me on Facebook, which is Zak Lioutas. Or they can reach me on Instagram. I'm on there as well as Spiritual Hustler, but Hustler is spelled HSTLR. So we just remove the vowel from Hustler. Or you could email me at zak@zaklioutas.com.
Okay. And Zak, for those listening, is Z-A-K.
Yes. Yes. At
Awesome.
ZAKLIOUTAS.com.
Awesome. Okay, great. Do you have any parting words you'd like to leave our live audience with today?
Yeah.
And our iTunes audience?
Yeah. Be you, be true, be raw, be bold, fierce, and unstoppable. And don't worry about what the naysayers are saying, because regardless of where you are in life, they're always going to come at you. So just be authentically you, and don't worry about the noise that surrounds you. Just work through it and learn something new about yourself.
I love it. Thank you. Great words of wisdom and inspiration and empowerment. So, Zak, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really glad we were able to make this work.
Yay, thank you too. That was fun. It was fun.
Thank you for listening today. If you found value in this episode, be sure to rate and review it on iTunes and subscribe so you can continue to be inspired and feel supported on your journey forward. Remember that every day truly is a new day. The more you practice saying yes to yourself, being open to your life's gifts through your lived experiences, the more you find yourself in the rhythm and flow of life. And that's just the beginning of how much more beauty is ready to unfold for you. Subscribe to the Everyday is a New Day show on iTunes and connect with me after the show over on Facebook on the Everyday is a New Day show and coaching page, where I also go live with many of my guests on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Or follow the show on Instagram at Everyday is a New Day show. Let me know what you're taking away from today. I'd love to know. I'm your host, Kim O'Neill, and I look forward to connecting with you next time.